Continuing our coverage of the 2020 Scouting Combine in Indianapolis, joining us now, the brand new head coach of the Carolina Panthers. He is Matt Rhule. And I say brand new. It's been several weeks. It probably already seems like you've been on the job for a long time.
It does. It really feels like years, and but in a good way. We've just gotten a lot done. And, you take one of these jobs, you show up, and you're excited, and then it's just kind of get to work and start just slowly, methodically making sure you're ready. So I think we've made a lot of progress so far.
Where does it start? Just kind of take us through the first week of the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. How do you kind of digest it and go through it all?
I think there's really two things. You want to make sure you get to the key players,
right,
and introduce yourself. And, because anytime you have a new coach, there's going to be a little bit of like, hey, what's this about? Who's this guy going to be? And then hiring a staff. Right. And as you know, in the NFL level, guys are under contract. It's really a process to navigate. So trying to make sure that, you're there and present for the players on the team, if they call you, reach out to you, or if you can reach out to them, and then hiring a really good staff as well.
Right.
What surprised you the most so far about this job?
I think as a college coach, so much of my day was so-and-so missed class, so-and-so was 5 minutes late, and so you show up and there's really no players there. And so,
yeah.
And that's what I love. I love being around players. I think great coaches make help their players play better. And so the few chances I have to be around our guys when they come in for treatment, I've really enjoyed that. So I'm really looking forward to the offseason and, the voluntary phases of the guys working out, so I can just kind of be around and be a coach, because that's what I love to do.
Yeah.
That's the most positive possible spin that I've ever heard a coach put on the limited access to players in the offseason. John Gruden 2 years ago, when he got back in the game and the rules had changed, it was borderline profanity after profanity about not having access.
But he's coming from college. Well, he's
right,
coming from college where it's even less access to coaching guys. So, I get it. You probably feel like, wow, I can really coach here.
Yeah.
Once they're allowed to show up.
Yeah, once they're allowed. Yeah, right. All right, let's just get right to it. I mean, I know you're going to answer this question 9 million times, but Cam Newton, I know you're not guaranteeing he's a starter if healthy or whatever that may be. How much tape have you watched? Do you watch, for you to get a good feel for where he's at in his career?
Yeah, I've watched, not just for him, but for the entire team. I've watched the offense, defense, and special teams going all the way back to 2015, 2016. And I think that's really important, just to see, what does it mean when Carolina has won? How do they win? What is the atmosphere like?
Right.
Just in every way. So, but I guess the big thing for me is, I'm really excited to coach Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Just getting to know him, being around him, seeing the way that he's rehab and the way he's taking this seriously. I think if he does this right and we do this right, his best football is ahead of him. And so, I didn't know him before coming there, and I've really enjoyed my interactions with him. And so, I have a job to do, and it's not to start talking about 6 months from now. It's about right now making sure that we get Cam healthy for this fall, because if he's healthy, there's really no questions about who he is or what he can do. So just making sure that that's really our focus right now, getting that in place. But I felt like coming here, I wanted to make sure people knew, I really want to coach this guy, and I really like this guy. And I really like the way he's approaching his rehab and the way he's doing things.
Anything just real quick, specifically, on film when you watch Cam Newton, maybe that you did or didn't know, or something he does better than you expected?
Well, I think two things I'd say. Number one, off the field, because when you talk to the other players, there's such a deep respect for him in the locker room, for what he does in between the white lines and the way he'll play no matter what.
Right.
And then I think you go back and look at him on third down. You look at the ability for him to throw the ball. Even last year, playing on a hurt foot, he's throwing 18-yard comebacks to the right sideline. So he coming off that shoulder, he's still got the arm.
Right.
And so to me, it's a matter of us putting in a new system. It's going to be a little bit different for him, but I think whether it's him or Will or Kyle or anybody else, I think it's a really good quarterback-friendly system.
Right.
At your introductory press conference, owner David Tepper was asked about Cam Newton, and he pivoted to this concept of the importance of buying in. And obviously, it's critical for your starting quarterback to buy in. How hard is it to sell him on sticking around and buying in when he's had one head coach his entire NFL career? Feels like everything around him is changing. What kind of a challenge is that? And how much have you been allowed to talk to him about that to kind of get a feel for whether or not he is all in with what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I haven't really had to talk about that. I think, and really with all the players. I think for me, I have to come in and just say, hey, this is what we're going to do, and just start moving forward. And I haven't sensed any of that. I think a lot of guys are excited about what we're going to do. I think, obviously some of them have been here for many years, are proud of what they've done. But, we all understand things change, and it's a new year. And so I don't care if you won the Super Bowl last year or if you lost last year and had a tough year. It's all about, the next season. And so I think guys are excited about what we're doing downstairs, in the weight room, training room, some of the sports science things we're bringing in. And, that's really that. To me, that's the buy-in. It'll show up in the offseason. It'll show up in training camp and in the season. And I have no reason to doubt doubt that guys won't be brought into what we're doing.
Is there any coaches, you've been around the NFL and, of course, made a name for yourself in college. Any coaches you've sought advice from here throughout this process that you've talked to kind of take on this new challenge for you?
Yeah, Tom Coughlin right off the bat. Dick Vermeil was someone who reached out to me right away, even in the early process, talking to Coach Parcells. So some of those legendary great coaches who have always been gracious with their time for me. And after that, really, I saw Andy Reid this morning, who I've known a long time. Saw Bruce Arians, who we were both Temple coaches, and I think all those guys have been really supportive. Sean Payton, when I've had questions, I've called Sean. We're in the same, same division, and so I think there's kind of a really good brotherhood of coaches that are out there, and guys have been really good to me.
You've got some experience coaching in the NFL with the Giants as an offensive line coach, more experience in college. But is there a fundamental difference between college and pro players from the standpoint of how you communicate with them, how you get them to respond, how you get them to do the things that you need them to do to buy in to win?
Yeah, I think it's different for every coach. I think if you're a yeller and a screamer all the time, that I always try to think of everything, whether I'm in college or the pros, it's not about players and coaches, it's just about people. And so everyone has different things that they're going through. Everyone has different issues. And so, when you're coaching in college, people sometimes forget that you have 125 players.
Right.
So 125 guys with hopes and dreams. And, if they have a bad year, they're still coming back the next year. They all have the same scholarship. And so that's one set of things. You come to the NFL level, you have, a 53-man roster, so it's cut down in half. And some guys are at the end of their career. They just want to hold on for a little longer. Some guys are just getting started. So I just think when you identify it as what's my job as a coach, my job is to make sure that I'm helping my players play better. If we really do that and we're just not saying that, I always felt like players respond to coaches who help them play better. And so we're going to try to do that at this level. When I was an assistant, I thought it worked. I've got a bunch of really good teachers and coaches with not a lot of egos, and I think our staff will really have a lot of buy-in from the players in terms of how we do stuff.
Yeah, you made a name for yourself because of your team building. You took over a tough spot in Temple and made them relevant. In Baylor, I thought they're done forever when Art Briles and the scandal hit, and you saved them. And all of a sudden, I'm going, what? They're in the Big 12 championship game this year. What is the difference between building a winner in college and then the NFL, in your opinion? Or if there is a difference, or an easier or harder, whatever it may be?
I think, obviously in college you do it through recruiting and through development. Right. I think here there's such a different, when it comes to free agency and the draft, so it's a different means to the same end. Yeah. But, I think the good thing for me is because I've been a part of both of those. I did a lot of good things. And when I say I mean my staff. We did a lot of good things, and we did a lot of things that I wouldn't do again. I was a much better head coach at Baylor than I was at Temple. And so as I come into this new challenge, I have a lot of experience to pull from that I say, hey, this worked, this didn't work. And I've told guys all along the way, I don't sit here and pretend like I have it all figured out. I'm going to make mistakes as a head coach. But I think the thing that I just never want it to be about me, and I hope players respond to that. And we have a good nucleus of veteran players in Carolina who I think are going to be great to work with and help me as I transition.
You got one of the best offensive weapons in football in Christian McCaffrey. What should we expect as fans of the game from him this year? Is your philosophy going to be, let's just use him till the wheels come off, or are you going to be a little more cautious? He's getting into the fourth year of his career, and at some point there's only so many hits you can take before the wheels do come off. Just give us a sense of what that approach will be to using a guy who was the third member of the 1,000-yard rushing, 1,000-yard receiving club.
Well, I think Christian's a dynamic player, and I don't think there's many people in football who take care of themselves as well as Christian does. He goes above and beyond in the season, out of season, to make sure that he's healthy and can keep answering the bell. And so I'm excited about those things. I think we want to continue to expound upon all the skill sets that he has. There's not many guys who can line up and run I formation power, run zone read, and then by the way, they can go out in the slot and win. Right, and so I think when we hired Joe Brady, we hired a really good offensive staff of guys that are creative, and without giving probably too much away, we'd like to do a lot of different things with Christian to allow him to just be as dynamic as possible and get him in the open field. And also, we have Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore, and we have a plethora of backs that we feel really good about, who haven't played a ton, but we feel good about. So I think we're going to try to open the whole thing up and use everybody.
Do you feel like you have an advantage, compared to some of these coaches because you've been in college, like you've seen some of these kids in person? Do you feel that way, or am I wrong to think that?
Well, I think I have a lot of history with a lot of these guys.
Okay.
I think, like I said, there's 10 guys here that 4 that I coached at Temple, 6 that I coached at Baylor, so maybe some insight on those guys. But then a lot of guys I played against. Walking down the hallways, and I see CeeDee Lamb or Jalen Reagor. I've seen those guys up close and personal. Right. So I think I have a feel for them. And then, as I go around college, pro days and stuff like that, there's a lot of guys on on those staffs who I know, who I've worked with. So I think I have a good feel for that. But that advantage is only good if you use it properly and take advantage of it. So, but I think we're always going to try to gain as much information as possible, and hopefully we come in with a little bit from coming from college.
Yeah.
Free agency is going to be the closest thing to college recruiting. It starts within a few weeks. What is your role? What is your voice in the process of deciding which players to go out and pursue in free agency? Marty Herney's still the GM, but it's still this new era, this new regime, and how does your voice fit into that process of selecting who will be new Panthers?
Yeah, I think Marty would tell you that every great GM, they build a team, but they don't want to bring a coach, a player he doesn't want to coach. And so, what we've tried to do is we sat there and the scouting staff has taught the coaches, hey, this is our process. But then the coaches have sat there with the staff and scouting staff and said, hey, this is what we're looking for in a quarterback, and this is what we're looking for in a 3 technique, and showing them on video and showing them examples, because what we're trying to do is take all these different people and align them so we see things the same way. And so I think that's really going to be an advantage for us. When you're a college coach, you do a lot of personnel, you do a lot of evaluations, you do a lot of projections, and so I come by that naturally. Now, to have a guy with Marty's experience, all he wants to do is put a winner on the field, and all Marty wants to do is make sure that we have players that we want to coach. And so it's been an unbelievable relationship so far, and so I think that extends into free agency. The one difference between college and pro is they're not all the same scholarship. Guys get different amounts of money. So for us, it's about us finding guys with the traits that we want that make sense for us, for this year and beyond.
We've done great things as a coach. It's going to be fun to see how it all plays out for the Carolina Panthers starting this September. Coach, thanks for your time. Congratulations and all the best moving forward.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Nice play.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.